Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Baird ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
Well, maybe you won't recognize the name Mary Travers, but after you hear the song she recorded with her trio, I'm sure your ears will perk up.
The magic dragon lived by the sea. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning.
Peter, Paul, and Mary had 10 top 10 hits on the Billboard charts from 1962 to 1970. The three hitmakers shared a manager with Bob Dylan and recorded his song, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. They broke up shortly after their biggest hit, Leaving on a Jet Plane, written by Bob Denver. Peter, Paul, and Mary did reunite for some tours in 1978 and were inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame in 1999.
You're the reason I'm traveling on. Don't think twice, it's all right.
Mary Travers is on the air with us this morning, a third of Peter, Paul, and Mary. She's from Louisville, Kentucky, now living in New York. And, in fact, it was Peter, Paul, and Mary that met in New York, in Greenwich Village, to be exact. The first song was A Lemon Tree. Later on, Leaving on a Jet Plane, their number one song. That was a John Denver song, wasn't it, Mary?
Yes.
And, now they're back on the road again. Well, how in the world did you decide to go and start concert work again?
Well, about 1978, we got back together again for a benefit. And had such a good time, we decided to do a limited amount of concertizing a year. It's kind of arrived at a magic number 50, which is seems like a lot to people who don't do concerts, but compared to the 195 odd concerts we used to do a year in the early years, 50 is a very sedate number.
Yeah. Why did you stop singing together back in 1970?
Well, basically, it was a combination of things. We had been literally living out of each other's hip pockets for 10 years. We had very little private life. And there was, artistically, we felt like we anticipated everything that each other would say. We weren't bringing anything new.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of digesting everything together. That was one reason. We really needed some time apart to do a little solo growing and a little, digesting without two other editors. And the other reason was that Paul, in 68, had begun to become a reborn Christian. And by 70, he really felt that he had to stop working, go move to the country, sit down, take a deep breath, and decide what he wanted to do with his life and what was the purpose of life and all of those big, major questions.
You were the most successful folk trio in the history of popular music. Were a lot of the things that you sang, did you write? Did you have a lot to do with the writing yourself?
Well, we did some writing together, but I would say the majority of the songs were other people's songs.
Any messages in your music today?
Oh, lots. It wouldn't be folk music without content. We'll be singing new songs and old songs, songs that deal with contemporary issues as well as the tried and true issues of children and love and all that good stuff. I think the thing that's exciting about this particular summer tour is that we'll be celebrating 25 years together.
Jeez.
So,
wow, where'd the time go? I don't believe it. Where'd the time go?
That's what I say, but when I look at my daughter, I know where it went.
Because I can remember, playing all those records when they came out. I shouldn't even admit this. Puff the Magic Dragon and
right.
If I Had a Hammer and Blowing
Now,
in the Wind.
The nice thing about a Peter, Paul, and Mary concert is some of our fans have grown old with us, and some of our fans are preparing to. It's a totally non-generational kind of event, a folk concert, and there'll be 3 to 4 generations of families there. And I have to tell you that there are lots of kinds of awards in this world. Most of them are gold-plated and fancy, and you hang them on the wall. But the best award that anybody can get, certainly a performer, is to look down into the audience and see a 6-year-old who knows all your songs by heart.
Yes. You have sung for some pretty famous people in your lifetime, haven't you? Martin Luther King Jr.?
Oh, absolutely. We went to Washington and to Selma with him, and the President John Kennedy, and President Johnson.
Now, in your off time, I know that you have been to the Soviet Union, to El Salvador. Do those people there know you? Do they know Peter, Paul, and Mary?
It's amazing. I've done a lot of human rights trips over the last 3 years. It's quite something to be singing "If I Had a Hammer" with a prisoner, a political prisoner in a jail in El Salvador, who's singing "If I Had a Hammer" in Spanish, or to be singing "Blowing in the Wind" to a group of banned journalists and union organizers in the Republic of South Korea, and they are singing it in Korean. Or to be in the home of refusenic Jews, some of whom have been put in prison by the Russians because of their desire for religious freedom, and to be singing "Where Are All the Flowers Gone" with them. I mean, it's special.
I think most of the Milwaukeeans are familiar with Project Survival. It's the name of a group of 64 local Milwaukee and television radio personalities, musicians, sports stars. They were joined by Peter, Paul, and Mary. And together, we all recorded Children on March 29th of this year on stage at the Riverside Theater, and all the proceeds go to the Family Sharing of Ozaukee County, a nonprofit organization that feeds and clothes poverty-stricken families. You spent the entire day doing this, didn't you?
Yes.
God bless you. Boy, that was
It
great.
was a wonderful day. Tiring, but wonderful.
And,
Well, you know, it's so important, you know, in light of the recent Live Aid concert. I celebrate the effort. It was wonderful. But there was a part of me that said, you know, there are 20 million Americans living below the poverty line, and there are women and children. And I wish somebody would have a concert for them.
Mary, thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you very much, and have a good day.
You too.
WOKY, Bob Berry, 1992.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Vaughn.